Hello everyone, welcome to my channel CryptoWare. And in my previous videos, I already covered static analysis of some OLE files, but this time also we are going to do the same. And this time we are going to understand like what kind of file is it? Is it trying to make any connection with the CNC server, or is it just a kind of file which is downloading some other malicious file, or what is it? We'll just try to figure that out just through performing static analysis. In the next video, I'll be moving ahead with other kinds of file types like PDF, other docx files, maybe .exe, ELF files, totally depends. And I'll be covering them too in in 2 or 3 videos so that it gets very much clear from your end as well, like what am I trying to do. And later we'll move ahead with the complicated ones. So let's get started. So here I have 2 files. Let me just remove the other one. So I have 2 files, maldoc1 and maldoc2. And we'll start with the maldoc2. So we'll be using the same tool that we have been using previously. And we'll see what is present over there. So we can see there is one macro at the 7th index. And we will try to check what is there, or we can simply put it in another file and it gets easier for us to read it in another editor. For example, let's use Visual Basic. In the previous videos, I have already used Visual Basic. So let's define the 7th index macro -v so that we can read it in a very proper form, and the name of the malicious document, OLE. Okay, sorry, I forgot to do that. So you can see it's quite, it's not that huge. You can easily analyze from here itself, but let's not complicate it from here. We'll read it from the text itself. I mean, from the editor itself. So let's go ahead. And here we can see that it's a very small macro file, but it looks like it is doing a lot of things. So it is creating an attribute. We are not trying to, let's not get into this thing. We are not interested in that. We are not interested in that, but we are interested in setting an object shell. Now it is creating an object, which is wscript.shell. So for understanding as of now, let us be clear that it creates an object. It is setting an object shell and it is creating an object, which could be an XLS file maybe, which could be a doc file. It totally depends upon the requirement or what the malware author is trying to create, and if a VB script developer is trying to create. So here it is trying to create a wscript.shell. Now let's see what is it doing from there. So strcmd, so we can understand that it is talking about some commands. So there's PowerShell. See, this thing is one indicator of compromise that we can think of, that it is trying to do something malicious. Another thing is the usage of PowerShell. Why is it using PowerShell? Clear, console, output encoding, system text encoding. Let's just keep moving ahead. Get encoding. It is trying to do something from here. ipconfig. Maybe it is trying to see some configuration. Let us simplify it. Just give me a minute. Let's turn it into VB, Visual Basic Code. It becomes easier for us to understand. Okay, so it's a bit huge code. We have to go this side. We're looking for some interesting things. So you can see there is environment variable that it has used, username, new object system.mail.mail message. So is it trying to use the mailing system that we have? I mean, the maybe whichever mailing platform that you have, maybe Outlook, we are not sure, or Thunderbird, we are not sure of it, but it is using some mail-based things. Is it trying to send some mail to someone? So you can see that from this, so this is the email ID, from where it is trying to send some message to, it is adding to the person, sorry, to the email ID that it is trying to send. Let me go over there. Yeah, here. So it is trying to send a mail. We saw that from whom this mail is being sent, to whom it is being sent. The subject is empty. Is body true? There's nothing as such over here. It is using SMTP client, yandex.ru. This is something that it is using. Okay, sorry. Yeah, yandex.ru. This is the port number because it is SMTP client. Maybe it is defining a port number. Enable SSL, SMTP credentials. So somewhere we can understand that this is a network credential, email ID, or maybe this is the password. We are not sure, but this is something very interesting. And then it is sending the mail. So maybe it is a kind of spreader which is trying to send or spread something. So what is it trying to spread? Maybe that W script.shell is something that is trying to spread. Maybe it is sending it to that email ID through this object shell.run. It is running this command. As we mentioned that it is going to run this command using SMTP client, debug.print result. So this is the simplest one that we saw. And from here we understood that it may be a kind of spreader. What we can do is we can collect the hash and check on virus total and see what is it trying to do. We are not going to do that as of now. I just gave you an idea. Like the first time you get a malicious document, malicious file, you can always check its hash on the virus total. And from there, you can actually figure out like what is it trying to do. Let's move ahead with another file, which is maldoc1. Why did I keep it for the later? Because I'll show you the reason right now. So let's go ahead with the same methodology. Maldoc1. So we can see there's huge data over here, and there are 3 macros which seem to be of our interest right now. So we will follow the same method. So this is 3, 22, 23, 24. 3_1, we'll put it like this. We are collecting all of them at once and then we'll be analyzing them one by one. So we have them all. And here we have all the 3 macros. Okay, there's some issue. Okay, I'm sorry. It has to be maldoc1, sorry. Yeah, so we are done. Just put it 24. Okay, it has to be maldoc1 as well. It has to be maldoc1. Okay. Yeah, so we have found it. So this is something very interesting. Looks like it's gibberish and it's a small one. Sometimes we see that there is something that dot sometimes signifies that there's a function dot some kind of method maybe it is trying to do, but there is no brackets over here. But without any bracket also, sometimes this calls can be made. Let's not confirm something as of now, but this is some idea that we can, conclude to. So we can see that there's a huge gibberish things over here. Like it's very difficult to read. Like you can obviously understand that there are few functions like join functions over here. Readim is something that VBScript uses. Set. So you can see a lot of, variables are getting declared. Functions are getting called. Maybe functions are getting declared too. There's end function. So things are happening over here, but they are not as easy to read as it was in the previous macro that we saw. Also, we have another macro file. Let's check that out. Okay, this is a bit huge, but it is also kind of gibberish. So we can understand that this is a this is an obfuscated file. We have to deobfuscate it before understanding what is happening over here. So let's see how are we going to do. I'll give you an idea of how you can, move ahead with deobfuscating a file. For example, see this. This is quite clear that there's a function call over here. Also, you can see the two brackets and also function is written before that. So just have a look at when is this function being called. So this is the only time when it has been called. We are just looking at this particular file. Okay, this is another thing. Readm is used for dynamically declaring arrays in VB script. So maybe there's some kind of arrays, they're trying to build some kind of storage over there. They maybe want to add something to that array since it is dynamic, so it will be, changing. So also you can see that if this is an array, so it is of length 2, 0 and 1. So it has defined 0. This is 1. Now, one thing that we have to understand that is it adding it or is it concatenating? If there's a concat kind of thing over here, then it should be strings. And if we are using strings, so in most of the programming languages, we use double quotes. Let us not confirm anything right now, but these are some analogy that there's a function that is calling, but we do not see it anywhere else. It is dynamically, declaring arrays, and it has put something into since this is an array of length 2. So for both the for position of this array, because since there are two things in that array. So since it has defined what will be present in that particular two spaces, it is again defining another array. It is of length 1. So we know in programming languages, the counting starts from 0. So 0 is the first particular array, first object or first thing in the array, whatever thing that you're defining over there. It is again defining another one. So till here, it has defined arrays, dynamic arrays. Let me see. Let me convert it into VB so that it becomes easier for us to, yeah. Okay, so here we can see maybe is it trying to do something? Let's look, what is it? Has it been, okay, it has been defined another time also. Okay, here it has been defined. Okay, let's go back. This is something, let's see where has it been defined. Okay, it has been defined only once. Okay, this is something very interesting. So let's try to see what is happening over here. This equal to UKNBSW Y and another W is something that has been used a lot. Like this is something common, right? Let's see. Till Y or till W. Okay, till W. Okay, Control F. How many times have it been used? Okay. So cool. So what we can do is we can remove it with nothing. Now, why am I doing this? Because there is something that I observed right now, and I have not analyzed this macro before. I have just created the scenarios so that it becomes easy for us to, that I don't waste much time into downloading, creating, and working on that. I'm analyzing it with you right now. So here I observed certain things which will be, this thing that I observed right now, that actually helped me understanding that we can remove this. So let's do find and replace. Let's remove this with nothing. I want to replace it with nothing. Yeah, with I just want. Okay, so you can see that that was something that I observed. So it became Rosses. Obviously, it has to be P. So it is getting declared maybe somewhere, or maybe here something is happening, which turns into process. There is another thing that is getting concatenated over here. Let's see what is it. No, it has not been defined anywhere else. So we are pretty clear that this should be process that it is talking about. So this is the variable if we think of it as one. Single quote defines comment. So I'm just putting it as comment. So this is a process plus something. We are still not aware of what is there. We'll try to figure out. And this should be P, hopefully. So here we can see that again, it is dynamically declaring arrays. Let's move ahead. A lot of times they put these things just to, distract you from the main code. So while we were doing this find and replace thing, we saw that this also got replaced. And we have win32 underscore. So maybe win management. So this should be something like, if I could write it, let me just write it over here. I'm just writing what it should mean. Win32 underscore win mgmt. So it has to be something like this process. The entire thing should be something like this. I'm just guessing. Let's see anywhere else that it has replaced. So from here, we can be very much clear that it is trying to make, it is trying to create a process, which is Win32 Windows Management, WMI, which it is trying to, make connection with. And we did discuss about it in a previous video that what WMI can be. So let's see anything else that it's changed. We're just looking for anything else that it had changed. I think that dynamic arrays are just to distract you and nothing very, interesting as such from there. Okay. So from here, we can get an idea. Like, let me give you an example. From here, you can see that it is defining length, the character that you have to choose, like mid, from where you have to choose characters, from which section you need to choose. So as you saw that we just got ROCSS, which was Rosses, and we could understand that it means process. So maybe it is defining P from over here. I'm not telling that it is confirmed, but that is how they define, like using these sections, mid function, length, and all these things. They are just, confusing you so that it becomes harder for you to understand, like what is happening. This is one thing that we understood. Let's try to see, is it a kind of function, actual function? We need to understand, right? Let's see, are we writing anything correct? Okay. So when management is there, let's see what is it doing. Okay, Win32 process represents a process of an operating system. Manage object, include. So it is trying to create processes, threads. So there is some process that it is trying to create. Since we have not obfuscated it completely, so we are still not aware of what is it actually trying to do. Since it has created a lot of dynamic arrays, so maybe it is trying to do something, or maybe it just needed one and it is distracting us with the rest of it. So let's see this one. Where has it been used before? Okay, it has been used another time. over here. So maybe this is something that is using all these all together. Let's see what is it. Okay, it is that function dot, this is pages one dot caption. Okay, let's see. Okay, it has been also used twice. So yes, from here. Let's see, has it been used somewhere before? No, it has not been used anywhere before. Let's see what is it. Okay. Okay. So it is being called, or maybe some kind of method over there. Let's see, has it been called? Where has it been called before? Okay, so this is the process. Okay, here another. Okay, that is the one that we have written over here. Okay, no issue. So from there we can infer that is combining them all. So there is another thing that is present which we have not figured out yet, and it's totally fine. We are just understanding, we're trying to get the gist to it, like how you can go ahead with, deobfuscating files. It takes a lot of time, and I cannot take all of the time right now, unless you're very much clear with all the, analysis of file types, basic and the simpler ones, getting an idea of how we go ahead with, deobfuscating files. Now, how did I understand? Because when I selected just one particular thing, I observed that there's a lot of things that is getting selected, and there is one character that is different. And when you try reading that, while I was doing that, I myself got understood that maybe it is trying to create a process. So whenever you try to do that, with experience, you get to understand that, okay, this is what we have to remove, this is what we have to focus on, which one is the loophole, which one is the rabbit hole, which one is something that we need to focus on. And it does come with experience, and you don't have to do it, at once, because initially even I was not sure of what I am doing, why am I doing. But later on, gradually it became a bit easier for me to understand. So here you can see, let's see, where is it getting defined. So what happens when you see a lot of times, like since I'm seeing this is getting, this has been used somewhere else too. So maybe I can change the name, like var1, var2, it gets easier. It becomes more readable. A lot of times it does not help a lot, but still it gets easier for you to read. Here is something, see, here it is getting concatenated. Everything is getting concatenated here. If we look at it, it has been defined once. Okay, it has been defined twice. So here it is creating an object. Here we can see. This is a kind of object that is being created, and this has been defined over here. This is another function that has been used somewhere, I guess. Yes. Okay, here it has been used, which is using. So this is another function that it is using, and it is creating something over here. And it has the following argument, which is over here. So here we can see mid cvar. This is another thing. Let's see, has it been defined anywhere? Yes. Acha, twice. So maybe it is just the characters, random characters, dot sections. So let's try to understand what dot sections mean. Dot sections in sorry, or we can try with this mid cvar. Okay, so what is it? Returns a specified number of characters from a string. Okay, to use the len function, determine the number of characters in a string. So here we can see that they have used len to determine the number of characters from here. So how does that, so we have to understand how the mid function works. See where is used over here. And from here it is taking some section. So that is the output of this thing is getting stored over here. And that output, the result is being used over here where this is the function. And this is something that is getting created. And this is then later used somewhere else that we saw before. Okay, here it has been defined once. Yeah. So let's go ahead and see. Yes, this is another function that is defined and this is the argument. So let's not complicate it. We'll, after I'm done with, analyzing, giving you an idea of different file types, the static analysis of different file types, we'll actually move ahead with proper deobfuscation and dynamic analysis too. So don't worry, I am just giving you a hint because from here it will get too complicated for you right now unless you, go through these samples on your own. You can find out the samples. I have shown you, on your own. I have shown you in my previous video, in the previous playlist from where you can download some of the samples. Also, if you need any other, platforms from where you can download, any.run is good. For downloading samples from VirusTotal, I guess you need to have subscription. From any.run, you can actually freely download some of the samples, some document files, malicious files. So go ahead, download, just see and go through, try to understand. You can see you can at least try to figure out the simplest of the things. Like we figured out there's some process, Win management, Win32. You can see there is something show window, there are different functions that they're using, how they're concatenating, how we can see that there's something that they're using just to distract us and they're of no use to us as of now. So that those are certain things that we have analyzed so far. We'll be deeply analyzing, we'll deeply deobfuscating the files on our own. Once we get an idea of statically analyzing each of the files and getting how to do it. And that time, that video will be totally focused on deobfuscating files. I won't be showing you how to, take out macros from the OLE files, from the doc files. We will simply go to the macro file, to the VB script, and we'll start analyzing and deobfuscating directly from there. So that's it for today's video. In the next video, we'll move ahead with static analysis of PDF files maybe, and we'll be properly analyzing on how we can, understand what is present there, what are the malicious things, whether there are, what other kinds of IOCs that we can find. So right now from here, we could understand that this is a file which is trying to create some kind of process. Since we have not deobfuscated it completely, so there are some other things also it might be trying to do. We'll be using the same samples for dynamic analysis in future. But before that, you need to get an idea. Even getting a small hint of analyzing a simple malicious document would be enough for you to, go ahead with malware analysis. So don't worry, we'll analyze all kinds of files. We are just moving a bit, we are following a very slow pace right now. Gradually, we'll be moving ahead with more complicated documents as well. As you can see that this is a bit more complicated as one, but I'm not deobfuscating it completely right now. We will be deobfuscating it once we get an idea of, how you can perform analysis and everything on your own. And let me know if you have any doubts, any questions, anything that you did not understand, anything that you want me to cover. I'll let you know in the comment section itself that when am I planning to cover it or if I have already covered them. So I'll be covering the deobfuscation part separately, where I'll just be having those macros, those VB scripts, the malicious ones, and we'll be deobfuscating them. For now, just let's go through the analysis, understand what we actually try to do, what we try to perform. And I'll see you in the next video where we'll start with the static analysis of PDF files. So thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and take care. Bye.